Maybe over in Santa Ponza, but thanks very much to Jinkies Bar. They've had a good season over there. Thanks very much for the sponsorship of the podcast and the fanzine again this season. And thank you to the Irish Brigade for their continued support. Jared, thanks a million. Folks, if you know a business or a pub that wants to come on board and likes what we do, you can contact us by emailing us at info@celticfanzine.com, and we'll give you all the information on coming on board as a sponsor of the fanzine, the podcast, or taking out some advertising on our website. Enjoy the podcast. Michael Pringle, you're very welcome back to the Celtic Soul Podcast. Folks, if you're tuning in on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to know what we're all about, visit celticfanzine.com. Michael, international break is over. Scotland have qualified for the World Cup. Ireland are in the playoffs. And things are as they were at Celtic Park. No manager, plenty of rumours, plenty of talk about Nancy. But as to date, we have no manager. Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney are still in charge. But off the field, we have an AGM coming up. By the time this podcast goes out, which is our Mirren pre-match podcast, the AGM will probably have come and went.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of unrest off the field, a lot of unhappiness towards the board, and we've had another after-hours statement, this time about the Green Brigade. Michael, you're in that section. Can you first bring us up to date on what the incident was and why the ban came into place and why now we have this statement released? So just...
Well, I am in the front standing section, and I did notice the incident, but these sort of incidents take place quite often, though, so it wasn't anything I thought too much on. It was over in a matter of seconds, and I thought, what's happening there? Nothing much. It was much ado about nothing. Crying over spilt milk, as they say. I think there's been a lot of crying over spilt water. It was something, as I say, there was nothing mentioned about it in the second half of the game or anything. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, I wouldn't say, for that section, given the over-policing and the heavy stewarding and the other measures that have been put in place more recently to prevent migration. So it wasn't something that I really noticed at the game. It wasn't until this all unfolded in the press and stuff that I was aware that there was an incident of note. As I say, all I've seen is what I've seen on the day, and that was any more than what's seen on the video. This damning video that Celtic have released, which shows nothing apart from some supporters going to the entrance or exit. In these cases, going on and what's going on, in these cases, the fans generally try to prevent wrongful arrests. I mean, there's been a long history of the police and the stewards overstepping the mark, shall we say, with the supporters in that section, and that's not even contained to the ground. We can go back to 12, 15 years ago when the Offensive Behaviour, the Football Act, was implemented or was being brought in. The Kettling and the Gallagate in 2012, Kettling last year in 2025, where hundreds of supporters missed the game, children and women contained for 5 hours in London Road. The previous one, the Gallagate in 2012, I arrived on the scene after the kettles and stuff had been put in place. There was helicopters, there was police on horseback, which is just ridiculous. It's just over policing. And as far as Celtic are concerned, when have they ever got the fans back? No, when have they ever got it? They just jump to the defence of the police every time. I don't think that's a coincidence by any means. That we've got Mr. Mark Hargreaves now, head of security at Celtic Park. I think the club are always quick to condemn the fans, but it never works in reverse. That no, we had a crush in the entrances to the North Stand a couple of years ago at a game. It's always we'll investigate, but nothing ever seems to come of these things. But when it's the supporters, then they're guilty right away. and it's draconian measures they put in place. I know as punishments. I mean, collective punishment. Basically, I didn't know last week if I was able to go to the game or no, because I didn't know if I was included within that Green Brigade, even though I'm not within there. I'm in the section, but I'm not within the Green Brigade membership, so to speak. I still wasn't aware up until hours before the game, because they if I was actually able to go to the game or if I was locked out as well. It didn't make it clear in the emails that were sent out who was actually affected by this. So it's and Celtic just seem to keep adding petrol onto the fire. I mean, I just don't know what they're thinking. It's just ludicrous. They've got AGM coming up this week, and some people are thinking, now maybe this will be a stormy AGM. I've attended many AGMs in the past, and I've stopped going a number of years ago because it's stage managed pantomime. It's the same every year, the same people going up saying the same stuff, and the votes are always the same because Desmond and his cohorts have got such a big proportion of the vote that the votes against don't really make that much of a difference. But the dissent is growing, and I think there's been a bit of confusion over proxy and vote. Celtic are quick to say proxy your vote to the chairman, to the chair in the meeting, but the Celtic Trust have been trying to get people to proxy, get supporters to proxy their votes to them, so that they can voice their dissent and voice their concerns with what's actually happening. So I've actually proxied my vote to the Celtic Trust for a change this time. Now that I'm aware of how to do it, and I think there was some issues with that as well, that people were unable to actually proxy their vote to that. So I don't expect the AGM to be much stormier than normal because of the way it's stage managed. There's only a certain time for questions. They'll all be sitting patting themselves in the back, the directors. I don't know if Desmond will be there. He doesn't usually turn up. So what will it be? It'll be a couple of jokes about Rangers and everything will be fine again. I don't think so, no, this time. And this stadium ban, I think, is going to kick on and kick on. The latest statement about the safety advisory group, Celtic say that isn't motivated by the club, but Celtic's actions have motivated this, I think, and that what they have put in place and the whole scenario that's came about because of Celtic's actions. It's not because the safety advisory group haven't looked at us and went, well, let's say if this ban hadn't been put in place, then I don't think the safety advisory group would be looking at this, because for me it is a minor incident. It's been blown out of all proportion. And I remember back, I'm casting my mind back to 2012 when the Kettle was going on and Police Scotland came out with statements about how there was 13 arrests on the day. The charges were all dropped with the exception of one, and it was just a ludicrous policing operation. That they made out that it was a far right. That they were in the area because there was a far right march or demonstration planned, and they just happened to go to the Celtic supporters instead. That was nonsense. It was all pre-planned by the police. Out of the 13 arrests, one person was convicted, and that was a minor drug charge. So I wouldn't believe anything the police say. I wouldn't believe anything Celtic say. They're just digging a bigger hole for themselves, I think, no. And if they ban the fans entirely or shut that section down, for me, they're just taking the beating heart away for the stadium. No, so I just feel the worst, you know, if this is their actions. I mean, I remember years and years ago reading a police source saying that they were going to smash the Green Brigade. It seems that the club are in cahoots with the authorities now to do that. That's my perception of it when I look at it. No, I just think that Celtic are doing their best to destroy the Ultras at Celtic Park, whereas you look at the other clubs across Scotland, they're all embracing it, and because it does enhance the atmosphere and stuff. I know. Every rose has its thorns, as the great Menzies for the Angelic Upstarts once said. Every rose has its thorns, and I know everybody's cup of tea, but for me, if you take that section out for the half a season, the entirety of the season, you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. That's what I think. No? There need to be some middle ground. But as I say, Celtic have got a record of shafting the fans, whether it be for tickets or if you go back to times when George Douglas was in charge, it was almost a war against the supporters clubs. I remember one time he wanted to know how the supporters clubs came about their names, if they had any link to republicanism in Ireland and stuff like that. No? So it's not a new thing, but it just seems to have been ramped up. Desmond's nose seems to be at a joint. So we'll see if he turns up on Friday. I'm thinking about going along on Friday for the first time in a great number of years. I think it's maybe about 10 years the last time I've been along, but I just get fed up with the whole stage manage sort of. They go through the processes, and then they have a select number of questions that they can be asked for a certain number of microphones, and the demographic at the AGM is an issue as well, because it's all there's no younger guys there. Very, very few. Shareholders are generally bought shares in the 90s. So you can work out for yourself sort of what age most of them are. Huh?
Like you.
Older than me, most of them, to be fair. I actually missed the first share. I was unemployed when the first shares came out. So I bought them in the second issue. So I didn't get the preference shares. I get the ordinary shares. So I didn't get a dividend or anything. I just get, I think the shares are worth about £1 now, and I paid £2.40 or something for them now. So there you go. And that in 30 years, they're worth about 2/5. They're worth about 40% of the price of them I paid for them. So, but it was never about making money, unlike the preference shareholders and Mr. McCann. It was about having a say, being able to have a say and having a bit of Celtic, but we're no further on and having a say in what goes on at the club than what we were back in the 90s under the Kellys and the Whites, for me, So, aye, and that's wrong, and that for me is fundamentally wrong, that we have such a large fan shareholding, but we have no real voice within the club and what goes on. And this is the only way that we can, by protesting and forcing these people to break cover. I mean, some of the non-executive directors have been in place for years. They said, I think you might be in place for 5 years, and then it's. I mean, how can you remain impartial when you're in place for that length of time? 20 years. Brian Wilson. How can you can't tell me he's going to hold Desmond and the rest of the board to account. Sorry, I just moved my laptop. Anyway, aye, I'm rambling somewhat.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. Brian Wilson, somebody said to me, who'll remain nameless, in Celtic Park at the Kilmarnock game, was saying, why is he still here? And he said he's still here because he's picking up a paycheck every year. He's paid to be a non-executive. He's getting his non-executive director's wages, he says. And, and which I return the comment, and he doesn't have to pay into a game, home or away, and he gets the best seat in the house.
But what else is their input? What's their input?
Yeah.
Taking a sum of money out of the club. What else do they do? Nobody's aware of what these guys are doing. It just seems that they're stooges for Desmond. No,
and if they have a role, come out and tell us what the role is. What have you done?
Exactly.
As you say, the shareholders are older, but a lot of shareholders are happy to have the shares framed on the wall. It's part of who they are, and maybe, especially if it's an older demographic and they're not on social media and they're not, tech savvy, they don't know how to transfer their to proxy their vote to the trust.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. And there's loads of issues. But Michael, can I rewind to the Kilmarnock game? Did you get into the game?
I didn't go.
You didn't go?
I didn't go, no. I chose, when I heard on the Friday that they'd banned, I wasn't sure how many they'd banned, so it just says 100 people were involved, which was a bit of an exaggeration, I know. I thought, so I didn't know, so I wasn't in contact with anybody, and I was so scunnered. I just went, you know what? I'm not going. I'm not going. And then I heard about an hour before kick-off that the members who were, that I wasn't banned, that I wasn't part of the band, and the ones that were, were making their way to the ground anyway. So I just thought, oh well, we'll see how this pans out. So and I watched it on TV. I watched the game on TV, you know, but so I never went. Which is unlike me, but I was just so pissed off with. There's just been one thing after another in recent months now, and I just thought, you know what, I just felt my head wasn't in the right place to go along there, and I thought if there's anybody, any police or stewards or anything, start saying that to us, I was feeling confrontational on the day, you know, so I just went, no, I'm not going. I was just so fed up with the way that they were treating us. They were treating the fans, you know what I mean? So, but the fans always seem to be an afterthought, I think, no. So, and I think there was many, given that the statement by the Green Brigade after it, I think there was many fans. And looking at it on TV, there was a lot of fans, a lot of empty seats. And fair play to them, they still went and they managed to get into the section and made the noise that they normally make. And they've encouraged fans to go along while with this ban is in place. So so I'll be back to see how it is. But I was just so fed up, you know, I never went. So it was a pretty decent performance as well. So
yeah, it was a good performance.
Maybe because I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was a good performance, Michael. But like, the board would probably be happy if the Michael Pringles of the world stayed away and they could sell the ticket to someone else, because and yet there was a lot of empty spaces in the stadium. Obviously the O'Neill coming back brought a lot of season tickets out who maybe wouldn't have travelled. And then that was for the Falkirk, the midweek game, and I was surprised with the attendance that night. Then, you know, after the Midland game, people were probably a bit pissed off as well. But I was surprised when I walked in, because I expected to see the section empty. I don't know why, but there's obviously people like you and others who are not in the Green Brigade who are in that section, including members of my own club. But there was a huge gap in it. The ones down the front did make plenty of noise. I'm sure the board and Dermot Desmond were disappointed to see the banners against them being displayed.
Again,
I've seen a statement not a statement. I've seen a comment on social media after the game that thanking the fans who had given the tickets to, I don't know, were they band members or whatever, to get into the ground. But I hope that this continues, and I hope we see that section full for the next home game, because the players definitely need it. I was in the Aviva Stadium. I sit just above the singing section, which is behind the goals in the Aviva. Now, the Aviva doesn't have a standing section. It's an all-seater stadium. Yeah. But everybody stands in that section. And I have a video of the celebrations after the game, you know, when we beat Portugal 2-0, and they were incredible. And, like, I've noticed more stewards now at the games, and then they kind of bring a net up to stop people getting onto the pitch, because that was becoming an issue. Right. You know, nobody has said to me after that game that there was any heavy-handed shooting or any issues with the police. It was a celebration of song, football, flag waving. There was flares in the crowd. I haven't seen one thing about a ban or a fine for the FAI. So it does seem to be that it's made a bigger issue at certain clubs by UEFA, and it doesn't seem to be an issue on the international scene. Where,
well, they've all got a fine. I think I can't remember how much it is, but there's a set amount for each pyrotechnic does lit, but it's not a hell of a lot, but it's a sort of sliding scale. So the more you do it, the higher it gets. But there's something quite ironic about the fact that the FA's let off their own pyrotechnics before the games. It's obviously safer, and but I don't think it's a thing you're going to get rid of, no matter how much you fine people. It's been going on since the 60s in Italy and stuff. So, I mean, and it's been going on here for the best part of 15 years now as well. So, It's going to be hard to.
To my knowledge, Ireland don't have an ulster group, but they obviously have a group in that singing section who bring the pyro and that. Now I often noticed that in the stadium there was three fire members of the Dublin Fire Brigade with the buckets behind the goals. Now flip that to Hungary, Budapest, and the ultra section in that fabulous stadium, and the noise and they created, it kind of took me aback having. I've seen it in East European teams or former East European, former parts of Russia, of the Soviet Union, that they have the ultra groups are now coming into international football, and I seen it in Armenia, but in Hungary, it was incredible to see the ultra scene, how big it is, how big it was with the international team, and I'm sure they're gutted that they went out in the last minute. But for Ireland, it's the playoffs, but before, I'm sure Scales and Johnny Kenny will be tuning in today from Lennoxtown to see who we get in the playoffs, and again, the playoff draw will be made before this podcast goes out. But we have a game against St Mirren. Take it, and the Green Brigade banned. That's a home and away ban, so tickets are, as usual, very scarce. But again, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's strange kickoff. I know it's for TV, but it's a Saturday. There could be a lot of drink taken for fans before the game. So you would wonder, why on a Saturday that they're showing a game at 8 p.m.
Yeah, that tickets is an issue again, regardless of whether you're banned or not. We've got our own supporters club. We get 5. I think we've got 60 odd members, maybe more than that. So 5 tickets, we ballot the tickets between us, regardless of who comes out of the Celtic Park ballot. We ballot the tickets between us, so you've got an equal chance of each game. But I didn't get one again, so But we also pick up tickets for the home sections, despite St Mirren only giving us one stand now. There's plenty of Celtic fans that will be in the main stand, etc. With the colours, I think. But I just don't get. Why so many clubs are. I can see the point. See if you can sell out your ground on you with your own supporters, then fair enough. But why would you financially handicap yourself by I know they say St Mirren fans are saying, we had a bigger crowd at this and we had it when Celtic fans are here, and it's relocating. But why would you not want a better atmosphere in your stadium? Why would you not want it looking better when it's on TV rather than empty seats everywhere? Why would you just not want more supporters at the game, regardless of which team they support? And this is the same club that their season tickets holders were able to buy 20 tickets each for the final. If they decided to do that, you could take your family, your in-laws, and your next door neighbour's family and in-laws with you if you like to.
All Celtic supporters.
Aye. So, it's just I just don't get it. The whole mindset of Scottish football's wrong. I mean, the things we should be doing to promote the game here seem to be the last things they think. It's just. I mean, there are teams who. Hearts, for example, I can see their argument for only giving us 500 nods, but it's somewhat negated by the fact that they give Hibs a full end. So why not give Celtic and Rangers a full end if you're still giving it to Hibs? Because it is possible. It's possible for their games against Hibs, so it's also possible for these games. I just don't get it. I don't understand the logic behind it. I know fans of these clubs go, we don't want your fans there, etc. But they want the money at the end of the day, right enough, that the clubs are generating for the TV. And it's the 2 Glasgow clubs that are responsible for Sky and paying so much money, which isn't a lot in relative terms to other leagues. But if you didn't have the 2 clubs in there, then the TV money would be pitiful. Even though some would argue it's pitiful just now. So they want the money for the TV, but they don't want to give the supporters the tickets. You look at Kilmarnock, when you go there, they've actually built offices at the back of the the other stand that he used to give. I can't remember what ones, the Moffat and the Chadwick. Always get confused with. They used to Chadwick stand, I think it is. They built offices behind that. They've got a small standing section in it. It's empty when you go to play them. Probably less than 300 people in it. That was 4,000 tickets that they could have. Well, they used to give to us. I don't know. It's just. It seems financial suicide by the clubs, but they'll moan about not having money. I bet the Police Scotland, if I retrace my tracks a bit, they moan about not having money, but they're able to put out huge resources against a couple of hundred football fans every week with helicopters and horses. And I'm sorry, I've went back. That's my ADHD is doing this. Going back to St Mirren, I think it'll be a very tough game for us this weekend. I think it's a tough game against them anyway, but I think given the circumstances recent weeks, the international break and the fact that we're away to them and at a strange kickoff time, we'll really need to be up for it because they're very good defensively. They don't score a great deal don't score a lot of goals, but they're capable of scoring against us. Boy Phillips, for example, decent, but they've got and I like Big Gogic at the back. He's my type of centre back, no, just old fashioned, rugged, never say die sort of attitude guy, man. So, sorry.
No, you're all right, Michael. Yeah, I still think we should have enough. Even though we're down another player now, Colby Donovan from the squad injured on international duty. The injuries are mounting up, especially in defence. It's incredible to think of all the defenders that are out injured. We should still have enough. We should still have that Martin O'Neill bounce that we've got since he replaced Brendan Rodgers. He's interim manager. There's loads of talk about who's coming in. And one of the lads texted me and said, "Would you not do a podcast on potential managers?" And I says, "I won't. I'll try avoid it for as long as I can because I remember the Eddie Howe saga and the amount of media coverage that got, wasted column inches. I know they have to write about something, but it was just. And then Ange rocks into town, a manager we no one had really heard of outside of Australia and Asian football. So I'll park it for now, Michael. But just on the manager, I get surprised that they couldn't get a manager in the international break.
I'm not surprised, no. Given the way our transfer dealings and everything else normally takes the length of time it takes, then there's nothing. I didn't expect it. Given the time it took for the last manager appointment, then I didn't expect it to be a quick appointment, and I think that's why they've got Maloney and O'Neill in place. I think we could probably get away with him being in place for another month or so into the new year, possibly. I don't expect it to take that long, right enough. I'd expect something to be concluded before then. I don't know a lot about Nancy or Nancy, depending on your pronunciation. I knew more about Postecoglou than I do about Nancy. I mean, I've had a look at his playing career. He's really undistinguished. So I don't watch MLS football, but I wouldn't slate it either because some of the players I've got there are incredible, and I do know that the whole sort of setup there's fantastic. The coaching and the tactics are second to none, probably. I know a lot of players go there maybe to see out their careers, but it's probably a better. I wouldn't say probably. I would think it's at a better level than the Scottish League, to be fair. Overall, I think we've got this sort of I don't know, this snobbishness about other leagues that are on the top 5 leagues, etc. There's loads of leagues that would probably. I mean, the Midtjylland game there. It's probably a good example. It's probably a league that we would write off, but it just shows it stronger or as stronger, if not stronger than our league. I mean, if you take the two Glasgow teams out of our league, then I think our league would really struggle. And the European results show that as well. I think other years, teams that you would maybe expect to beat, not just us, but the other clubs. I mean, Scottish clubs struggle to get past the qualifying rounds in Europe, and we're struggling to get by anybody at the moment. So I don't think I would write him off just because he's coming for the MLS. I would think that's probably a better standard than what we've got here. And the stadiums and stuff are a lot better. The players you're up against are a lot better. There's some real superstars out there. So we'll see. If it's him, then we'll see. But I'm not going to be joyous about it, but I'm not going to be down about it either. We'll see what happens when he turns up and what style he plays. I mean, when Postecoglou arrived, within a couple of games, even though we lost a couple, I mean, the game at Tynecastle, for example, where we had some dubious decisions went against us, and we lost 2-1. I just thought, I really felt we were behind. We were trailing in the league and stuff, and I just thought, I think we're going to win this league just with his style of football he plays. No, I wasn't. I just thought it's early in the season. A couple of things were running against him. I just liked the way Ange spoke and stuff, and I thought he knows what he's doing here. I'm confident we're going to win the league, and so it panned out. So we'll wait and see. I would have much preferred Knutson, but that might be maybe we're overreaching with our ambition, looking for a manager coming for the Norwegian league rather than the MLS. But I think Knutson's earned the right to go wherever he likes. To be honest with the job he's done at Glint. McKenna wasn't one for me. Rabbi Keane, as Joe Miller said, definitely not for me. That would have been all hell would break loose whether the Green Brigade were there or no. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how the coming weeks pan out. But I'm open to Nancy or Nancy. I don't know what's the pronunciation. He's French, so we'll say Nancy. So I'm open to seeing what he brings to the table. It looks as if he's got a style, maybe no similar to Angie's, but in that a progressive sort of footballing style, and that'll bring a bit of excitement because that's what I need again. I thought it was really stale with Rodgers there for New Year. The first season back there wasn't great. We managed to get over the line and stuff, but the football wasn't great. It looked as if it was a lot better at the start of last season to the turn of the year, and then it just sort of went downhill again and just stagnated. It was really boring to watch. This possession football is, I know. I looked at the possession in Scotland's game the other night, and Denmark had 60% possession, but they still lost. They still lost 4 goals. So it's about what you do when you've got the ball, no. And for long spells in their games there, it was like watching paint dry. And the shoehorn of death, as somebody labelled it. Or the horseshoe of death, sorry, not the shoehorn. The horseshoe of death, no? So, aye. But I think the time it's taking to put a manager in place isn't really the issue. As long as we get one that's right for us. But I'm not that confident that our board will do that. I mean, I think they've looked at to an extent, Ange, because of how you turn on taking the job. He would have been a great manager for us, but he obviously saw what was coming, and I think Ange as well saw within the 2 years that he was here. Just thought, no, this isn't the way I want to work. No, I think that was first and foremost. That was his vision wasn't going to be fulfilled at Celtic, and Rodgers made it obvious that it definitely wasn't his vision obviously wasn't the same vision that was shared by the board. So, aye, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at the AGM. Maybe they'll have somebody in place by Friday. Well, you never know. So, to parade and take the flag off, the steam off. So let the steam out. So it's a bit of a little pressure cooker now. So
I don't think so. Hopefully, after Tierney's goal the other night, hopefully he scores another one like that in Paisley, a cracking goal. It's been great chatting, Michael. Lots of anger,
lots of ramblings,
lots of frustration off your chest in this episode of the podcast, folks. Thanks very much for listening. This is our preview for the St Mirren game, and we've been speaking about generally what's going on around the club ahead of the AGM, which will be passed by the time we release. We put this podcast out. Not sure what we're doing next week on the podcast because we'll be travelling to Holland for the Feyenoord game, and myself and a couple of lads are heading on a bit of a beano to Spain before we enter Holland. So not sure how the head will be to record a podcast. We may do a pre-match podcast, but we also have recorded a number of interviews, and we will hopefully get them out while we're off enjoying ourselves in the sun, in winter sun. As I said, Michael, thank you so much, and we'll see you on our travels.
Thank you.